If working on your body image, how you view your body, how you see your body, how you treat your body is something that you want to work on in this season, I really think this episode is for you. Today, I'm joined by the amazing Brandis Lardner, who just goes through her own story with really struggling with body image and gives us some real practical insight and tips to shift how we see our body image, because that could be really keeping us stuck in our health and just enjoying our life, really. And because it is the holiday season, she even shared some really great tips around how we can view food and our bodies and treat food and our bodies in this holiday season. So you're really gonna enjoy this episode. And, Brandis is a certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, author, Amazon #1 best-selling author, and Jesus Girl, whose mission in life is to help women ditch the diet mentality and find peace with food and their bodies so that they are better equipped to do the great thing God has called them to do. So her and I are both Christians, so we do bring a little bit of that element in here. But even if you're not, I do think that this episode has a lot of great insight for you. So enjoy the episode. Make sure you dig in and check out her resources. And I also wanted to make sure that you know that I actually have one-on-one coaching spaces open right now. And I actually think the holiday season is the perfect time to get started, because it is a time where we're just filled with messages around food and the holidays and our bodies. And why not really put our feet down, stand our ground, and really take care of ourselves in the way that we need to while enjoying the holiday season. So if you are interested in getting some support now or even in the new year, please book a clarity call. Go to madewell345.com/clarity and find a time on my calendar for the next few weeks, and we can just chat and just talk through where you're at, what kind of support you need, and I can kind of just share what I can do to help you. All right, enjoy the episode, and I'll talk to you soon. You're listening to the More Than Your Weight podcast, and I am Brianna Wilkerson, your host. Over half my life, I really struggled with my relationship with food, my body, and myself. I was constantly finding my worth in my weight, in what I did, in how I looked, and how other people saw me. And healthy living was just about getting that affirmation. But when I started to see that my worth and my health was so much more than my weight, I found breakthrough. Yes, my body got to a weight that it really thrived at, but more so than that, I loved myself. I took care of myself and I cared for my body in the way that it needed. And I am on a mission to help other women do the same. And so through this podcast, my programs, my group, I really am on a mission to help other women find peace with food, feel confident in their bodies again, and develop healthy habits and a lifestyle that's so much more than about their weight. So I'm so excited to journey with you on this podcast, where you'll find solo episodes, guest interviews, and an occasional essential oil episode from time to time. But before you leave, I want you to do a couple things. Make sure you join my Facebook group, More Than Your Weight Women's Community, where you can unpack these episodes, get weekly trainings, monthly challenges, and a lot of support. But also be sure to hit subscribe and rate and review this podcast, because guess what? I want to make sure this podcast pops in your inbox every single week. But then if you are on Instagram, make sure you follow me there, because I show a little bit behind the scenes of my business and my own health journey. So I'm so excited that you're here. Can't wait for you to listen to this new episode. But also, again, just know that you are so much more than your weight. Your health and your worth is so much more than your weight. All right, enjoy the episode, and I hope to talk to you soon. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have Brandis on today to talk more about why bad body image is keeping you stuck. And I think this is such an important conversation for us women, no matter how far we are on our journeys with health, with food, with our bodies, because it can just become so easy to get into that bad body image mindset, especially around the holidays right now. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Yes, this is always a hot topic, and It's so complex and so eye-opening when you start to really see how your negative self-talk is causing a lot of your problems.
Yes. And we could just end right there, but I just think sometimes we're waiting for something, whether someone else or just some sort of validation, but not really seeing our own thoughts and how that could be driving our reality and our actions. So I would love for you to just share a little bit about your story as it relates maybe to body image, what got you into what you're doing now, and we can go from there.
Yes. So, yes, my name is Brandis, and I am a blogger at Grace Filled Plate. And so, my story started out pretty much as well, I'm in my 40s. So, I grew up like in the 90s when like supermodels were like the thing. So, you youngins won't remember, but everybody wants to be a YouTube star now. Well, back in the day, everybody wanted to be a supermodel. And so, I set my sights on that and started taking like modeling classes and all this kind of stuff, just as a young, girl with a normal average size figure. And one of the first photographers that I met told me that I needed to lose 15 pounds. And if I were to show you a picture of myself at that pre-pubescent age kind of thing, like you would just, you would roll your eyes. And that started the beginning of the saga of restriction and then binging in reaction to it, right? And that up and down that lasted for decades. And so you often wonder like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Did I get into the health and fitness industry because I had a passion and then the enemy skewed it, like because it was my passion? Or do I have a passion for it because I wanted to fix myself, right? And so I got into the health and fitness industry, personal training, nutrition, and worked with, quite a few trainers myself. And it wasn't until I started to get introduced to making smaller changes, like a lot of the new habit science now about making the small sustainable changes, that I started to find a little bit of freedom. But so much of the freedom was just found in my behavior, not on the inside, right? Like I could push my little shopping cart through the store with all my healthy food in it and be proud of the way that I looked and acted. And yet inside I was completely bound, right? So outside, kind of got the outside figured out. I thought that was the solution, right? And it didn't fix it. I didn't have any more joy. In fact, I became less and less joyful with every diet I became. And even in my thinnest moments, I remember standing in front of the mirror crying about how overweight I was, right? Just ridiculous. Your thought and your brain gets so skewed. And so when I started to bring the Lord into this, that is when everything changed. Not overnight. Don't read between the lines and think you bring God and all of a sudden it's just fixed. But things started to become meaningful. And like, there are certain things I realized that I can't fix on my own because they're like woven deeply in my heart. And so the most effective thing I could do was bring my hands to God with them wide open and say, God, what are we going to do with this? And little by little, whether it was through the word or through interactions with other people or books or praise or just, those little tiny miracles where he does give you a breakthrough, things changed a little bit at a time. And I have to admit, the food, I found more freedom with that before body image completely. Like there was still some food stuff that was lingering, but the body image was like the last thing. It was like I was holding out on that because I just didn't want to give God my body image, because what if he didn't want me to look like I wanted to look? It was so scary. But as I started to yield in that area, and I have a whole fertility and pregnancy story that goes along with that, but that led me to really yield that area to him. Then it unlocked the next level of food freedom. And I found that it's been ever since then, it's just this climb up, and it's a climb. There's sweat and there's bruises, but it's really climb up. And like, God has given me such a joy that surpasses how I look, which is really great because now I'm aging. Like, oh crud, I just got comfortable in my own skin. And now like the aging process is starting, but it's okay. It's okay. God is bigger than that. So that's the long, semi kind of longer than I intended to go, but the version of my story with body image, and what I think gives me a little bit of authority to speak on it because I've been through it so much.
Mm-hmm. So many great things that you said there, but I just love how you talked about the struggle to yield it to God. Obviously some people listening probably aren't Christians, but I just think this is so much of like my story too, just withholding it, saying this is everything. I can do this on my own. I can find out, I can just follow these steps and I'll be fine. But when you like surrender it, whether it's to God or whether you just that process of surrender, it's like, I think that is when things can shift. And I think for you, even talking about how, I just love that word yield. That your word yield is like when we're driving, we're like, slow down. Like we know we need to. It's the safest thing for us to do. But sometimes you just kind of like, oh, it's still yellow. I kind of want to just run through the light. But that process of yielding or letting go is just so powerful. And I love how, they're so intertwined, your relationship with food and your body and yourself. But I love how you were just talking about the body is the last part that you wanted to surrender, because what if his definition, or what if your body was basically it turned out to be not what you wanted it to be. And now here you're 40 plus and you're like, oh no, it's changing even more. I need to constantly do that work. And that's just powerful, because what is it like? I think this is kind of what I feel like you're getting at is there's a deeper sense of love and for your body, and the deeper sense of what it's worth that goes beyond what it looks like. Yet you're having to still do the work around what it looks like, the outer appearance. And so, what was that process like for you, and like the specifics, or even how you support women around bad body image and how that's keeping them stuck? Like, what are some things that people can do to really do that deeper work of that inside work that you were talking about?
Yeah, I think some of it for me first was recognizing what I was basing my body image on. Like, really step back, because, we've been entrenched in it since, we've come out of the womb, magazines, and, you're little and you put a dress on and everybody's like, oh, you look so pretty, or whatever this is, right? We've been affirmed for it for so long. But when I was able to step back and kind of see the progression and how man has determined what is attractive. Like at some point, I use the example of like a place setting at a table. Like at some point someone said, oh, your dessert fork goes here. And we're all like, oh my goodness, don't put the dessert fork on the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? And it's the same kind of thing with our body image. At some point, some guy who was designing clothes for women thought that things looked better on a body that was shaped like a hanger, right? And so I step back and I'm like, wow, this is something I actually, was a crazy thing. And then I realized that it's actually something that I don't personally care that much about. Now, I know there's resistance when I say that. People are like, but wait, it's so important to me. Yeah, I get it. It is. But when we dig a little bit deeper into our hearts and fast forward to that funeral moment, right? You don't want like someone to come up, like your kid, and you're like, my mom, she was smoking hot in those jeans. Like she was so cute when she wore her little whatever. Like those are not the things we want to be remembered by. Like you want someone to talk about you and feel amazing, right? You want someone to come in a conversation with you and not walk away going, oh man, gosh, her arms were so fit. And maybe part of us does that fleshly part of us, right? But her arms were so fit. And now I feel like horrible. And I just want to go home. And like we made someone feel bad. Yes, we want to be attractive. We want to glow for Christ. But ultimately, when we stop and really connect with that part of ourselves, we want people to come around us and feel better about themselves because we make them feel amazing. And I realized like this is a standard and a goal that I actually don't want for my life. And it was so eye-opening. Now I fight it, and it pops back in, or, I'll be walking through the mall and there will be a girl with, look super cute or in a swimsuit, and my brain will revert back to that. But then I remind myself like, that's great. Like, but what really matters to me, and how do I want to shine, and what do I want people to remember, and I don't want people to remember me. I want people to remember Jesus. Right. And I want to keep reflecting back on that. So remember noticing where things went wrong. Like somebody made up this dumb rule about what bodies are supposed to look like. You go to another country, like it's completely
very different. Yeah.
What is actually important to me? And then finally, like, how is my bad body image helping me? Ooh, that is a great question, because so many times, at least me and a lot of the ladies who I speak with, we hold on to it because we think if I'm just mean enough to myself, then I'll be motivated to change. Finally, like I just say one more mean thing, then tomorrow I'm going to just get my act together. And the truth is that doesn't work. We would never treat another person like that. We wouldn't go to our child's little league game and they go up and they swing, little son or nephew's been practicing little league for, all summer, and he goes up and he swings and he misses once, twice, 3 times. You don't go, you suck. Like, go sit down. You're the worst. Like, you would never say that to somebody else. It's appalling. It makes us sick to even think about it. That little kid would just throw in the towel and never play Little League again. Like, he would be scarred. And yet we expect ourselves to have the opposite reaction. We know our friends thrive on encouragement. Hey, sis, no, it's okay. You hang in there. You're going to do it. Try again. It'll be better next time. Right. And yet we don't do that to ourselves. So noticing, gosh, when I'm really mean to myself, I actually end up eating more. Right. And then I isolate when I don't hang out with people. And I do all of these things that set me up for failure. That was the final piece that made me say, you know what? My body may not change, or I may not all of a sudden feel like, wow, I'm adorable, but I'm not living like that anymore. That is terrible. And so my change in body image was a choice, right? It was an absolute choice. Like, love is a choice. Well, that change was a decision, because I didn't want to live in that place anymore. I didn't want to give any more years to the negativity. I was ready to live my life and do the things I wanted to do. And so that was really helpful.
I love that. I love that, just how body image is a choice. And I think this is something that, well, you even highlighted some of this, like the first step is we have started to take on beliefs and thoughts that other people have chosen for us. And sometimes people aren't well, like sometimes they mean well, like, they don't mean bad by what they're saying, but they've also taken on a belief that is not helpful and they're putting it on you. And, especially as women, I think we're searching for belonging, we're searching for value and worth, and we're asking people, really, we should be asking the Lord, but asking people to fulfill that. And people are telling us what we should find our worth in: your weight, your work, all these other things, versus like saying, what do I actually want to believe? What do I actually think is true? And can I change that truth? Like, this is something I believe my whole life. And what you're saying, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, if you believe something to be true for years, for decades, or most of your life, then it's going to take that deeper work and asking those questions and challenging those rules. And I just love what you're saying. Like, it's a choice. A choice is something that we're determining to do or be true. And we can make that choice, but we have to, what you're saying, we have to make it. We have to actually like stand our ground to it. Just like how love is a choice. That's powerful. It's a powerful imagery, powerful words. And so, it's the holidays right now too. And I know women are thinking about food probably a little bit more. Maybe it's like, it's the pandemic is still around, but it's like less restrictions. So maybe people are going to actually have Thanksgiving or Christmas. And so we're bombarded with, food options. And also like the temptation to kind of, either one, just say, I'm just going to enjoy it, and then kind of end with that bad body image and start the new year from a place of I need to fix myself. Or, there could be a different way that we approach that. So any tips around body and food freedom, or even body image in the holidays? Like, how should we go into the holidays thinking about our body?
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Just, it's kind of a setup that the holiday food season comes right before New Year's, because if you have any all or nothing thinking, it's so easy to put any change off until the new year. And yet when we think about it, we really don't want to do that. We don't want to wait until January to feel better. It sounds like a really bad idea, right? So one thing that helps from a body image perspective, because I get it, you might be seeing people, a lot of people didn't see people last year, right? So you might be seeing people you've not seen in a long time. And maybe this quarantine hasn't been really favorable for you, and just your eating habits and things. And so going into these events where we're going to be seeing people we've not seen for a while, if the body image thoughts are keeping you stuck, I really want you to think about other people. Like, this, the best solution for like pretty much anything is gratitude, praise, and thinking about serving other people. And so go into that gathering and find someone who's sitting in the corner by themselves, and go and listen to them, and have the goal of connecting with people and letting other people have a really great experience, because you were there listening to them, and you weren't hovering over the food table trying to get the last little bits in. At least that's what I did. That mindset, you are going to glow. And the most attractive person is someone who cares about you and listens to you. So be that kind of attractive. And that's a great place to start. From a food perspective, I like to think about it really, often say marrying your wants with your wisdom. Like that's my go-to saying there. We're going to be at an event where there's all kinds of tasty food and things you like. If you deprive yourself, well, you're going to go home and eat a box of cereal afterward shortly. So that's probably not a good solution. Again, revealing myself here. But what you could do is go in and think about what it is that you would like to eat and then decide where wisdom meets. I'm like holding my hands up now and making like kind of a crossroads, right? Like, here's what I want. I want, let's use Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving as an example. I want the sweet potatoes and the turkey and the stuffing and all the things, right? And what does wisdom say? Well, wisdom says, if I'm going to eat all these things, I'll probably want to keep an eye on my portion sizes. Otherwise, I'm going to be pretty miserable, right? Wants with wisdom. Wow, there's no denial when we use the wisdom that God has put within us. Or maybe, probably my solution usually is, I'm going to go with like some of my favorite richer foods. And then I'm going to bring along a lighter veggie dish or a salad or a veggie tray so that I can feel nice and full from all the veggies and yet still enjoy the things that I love and save room for dessert. When you step back and put on your super smart mama brain that can fix problems in your household day in and day out, you ladies like run ministries or have full-time jobs and raise kids, like you know how to plan things. Like put that same brain on and think about the scenario. Maybe you know that you're going to have a big, fancy, rich dinner. So you have a lighter lunch. It doesn't have to be anything restrictive, like, oh, I can't eat anything heavy for a lunch because I'm having a dinner out. No, it's like, gosh, I really think maybe I'll have a later lunch because we're going to have a good dinner. So the way we frame it is going to be super helpful. And the reminder that New Year's is just another day. Don't wait until New Year's to feel better. Like you want to go in and have January 1st feel just as great as December 27th, right? Like we just want to feel good the whole time. And I have so many holiday memories that are dampened by me eating like the entire box of hot tamales out of my Christmas stocking at like 8 a.m. in the morning. Like not fun, right? I don't want that anymore. I want food to just be one amazing part of that holiday. Does that sound like tips people could apply?
I think, and I think what's interesting about those tips too is it's what I would call, it's not the typical rules that we would probably hear. And, not typical, like, oh, just, have this or have this. You're really giving people autonomy, choice to say like, where's your wants and wisdom meet? Or how do we make the event not about like us, or really just gratitude for, my goodness, I get to be with people again. I get to catch up with this loved one, and how can I serve them? And you're right. That's the antidote to like worrying about ourselves, is just like thinking about other people. Right. And, so I just love your tips. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to practice these right now too. It's just because I'm just like you, I'm tempted to kind of like revert back to those areas of like bondage. I'm tempted to kind of yield back. And I just love the idea of like, we can have those things, but like wisdom in the sense, like if you're invited to multiple parties, it's okay for one party for you to be like, I just want to eat the veggies instead of the rich foods. Like, and people may say things, especially when they notice that you're like being health conscious, like people may say things about that, and you don't have to accept that. You don't have to make them feel bad or your grandma feel bad because you don't want to eat it right now. Say, I'm going to take it home and eat it later. So I think just asking yourself what's best for you and your body. And you're right. New Year's is just another day. The calendar is just another day. And we just need to decide, like what you're saying, do we want to feel good now, or do we want to wait a couple months? Yeah. I want to feel good now, and I want to feel even better in a couple months,
Yes.
So I love these tips. So as we wrap up, I would love for you to share just like, you can need a final thought, final piece of encouragement or tip around, body image, and that people can kind of just, shift their mindset, but also practically apply as we enter into this season.
Yeah. My tip is to not wait on body image. So often we're hold off on things. Perfect example is like, I walked around with underwear that cut into my side for like far too long. Like they were small and I didn't want to buy bigger underwear. It sounds ridiculous to say it, right? But like, So what was I thinking about all day long? My side and the extra fluff on my side, because my underwear didn't fit. It was miserable, right? Like that is just a small example of don't wait until you get to a certain place, because what's going to happen is when you start to care for yourself, like you would a child, like you're not going to like put your, 6-year-old in their 2-year-old underwear, be like, no, we're just going to make them last a little longer. Like you're not going to do that. So when you start to treat yourself well, meaning buy some clothes that fit, you can go to, the local department store, even like Walmart, and get a cute outfit for under $20. Like buy something you feel good in, put some makeup on. Again, not for like, oh, I want to be super attractive or like all these kind of things, but it's the way that you're treating yourself like you matter, right? We think we matter. Pursue hobbies, like start to live out the calling that God has in your life. Then it's so cool. It's so cool because we don't realize how this body image sabotages us. Negative self-talk causes this ickiness in your mind. You go and eat to escape it, right?
Yeah.
You miss a social gathering because you're like embarrassed to go. Well, what do? You stay home and you eat to fill the void of comfort. You hold off on pursuing that dream because you just don't feel worthy. Because I mean, my goodness, I can't control my food. How could I be an author? You hold off on pursuing that dream. Well, what do you do to fill your time? Well, you probably spend some time going to food for solace and being consoled. So start to just test the waters and see if you can't actually start to live a fulfilling life, a life that will fulfill you more than food. And then things can start to even out on their own. Then food can take its rightful place in your life. Then you can start to emerge and connect to your hunger and fullness signals, right? Then food just becomes one other part of your life. But when we've allowed body image to take root, food becomes the thing. In fact, I remember when I went on one of my first diets, crying to my mom, like food is all I have. Like I can't cut out one more thing, because I'd so avoided parties because I didn't want to eat the food there. It was just this whole narrative that I'd created in my mind. And things started to change when I said, I'm going to live my life and not be defined by this. Yeah. And then everything looks different. It just looks different. So that's my thing. Give it a try, test the waters. If you hate it, you can always go back to the old way. It's always there waiting for you.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure you're going to love the new way, right? Just like the idea of like, we're waiting in any area, we're waiting to these things align before we step into confidence. But what is it like to step into confidence now? And then those things align, right? And so I love that. I love that. Well, I know you have a free resource to offer the ladies. I think it's your Overcoming Weight Loss Idols. Would love for you to talk about that with us.
Yeah, it's just a very short Bible study. Even if you're not a believer, you may benefit from the ideas in it. It's just a short study that will help you see why you're holding these ideals up, to what they are, so that you can bring down that pursuit and start to go after things that really matter to you.
I love it. And tell us more where people can find you on the website, social media. And I know you have a podcast as well.
Yeah. So again, the website is Grace Filled Plate. And then the podcast is Grace Filled Food Freedom. You can find me either of those places. Love to have you join me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I took copious notes, and I just think these are really great insight, really great wisdom to offer the ladies. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Make it a good holiday, ladies.
Yes. I hope you really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you're leaving just a little bit challenged, actually, to really shift the way that you think, what you say, and what you believe, and how you treat your body, because your body is this beautiful thing that when we are constantly at war with our body, it really can hold us back from the peace we want, the love we want, and the health that we want in our lives. And so really hope that this episode with Brandis really just encouraged you and is challenging you to think differently and treat your body differently. So feel free to let me know in the Facebook group, Instagram, or wherever we can connect what your takeaway is. And then also just a reminder, if you're interested in getting some support from me, I have some one-on-one coaching spots that are available at a limited time and a limited space. So just feel free to book a clarity call on my calendar. It's a no pressure call, just where we can talk together, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and really help you figure out what kind of support that you need. Okay. And that support may be me, might be something else. All right. So go book that call in the show notes or go to madewell345.com/clarity. All right. I'll see you in the next episode. That's a wrap. That's another episode of the More Than Your Weight podcast. I hope you're leaving encouraged and inspired and empowered to go out there and know that your health and your worth is so much more than your weight. So before you go, again, do a couple things. Make sure you join my Facebook group, the More Than Your Weight Women's Community, where there are daily posts, weekly trainings, and just a lot of support to unpack these episodes as well as get support in your More Than Your Weight journey. Make sure you also follow me on Instagram, where I show my behind the scenes of my own health, but also just how I care for others along the way. And then make sure you subscribe and rate and review this podcast, because more women will see that, but also you'll get new episodes every single week. All right. I'll see you on the next episode and can't wait to support you more.